Hello, everyone. We are so excited to have you guys, and thanks for making some time to join us for our Costco series today. We have a great RSVP attendee group. So excited to have some of our spring partners. I know all of you guys have been hard at work getting ready for the upcoming season, but very much looking forward to jumping into some Costco opportunities and a new distribution channel that we are having some great success with, and looking forward to introducing you to our two panelists as well. Let's get started and jump into this today. One thing, just for anyone joining us, listening in, feel free to drop questions in the chat. Want you to be mindful and aware of, we do have some questions that were pre-submitted by some of our partners, so we'll be addressing those. We'll try to weave in those questions that are coming in on the chat. If not, for sure, in our recap email, we will answer those questions and make sure you guys have that piece covered as well. Well, let's get started. Before I introduce our panelists, if I have not had a chance to meet any of you on the call, my name is Cara, Leis. I am our VP of Partner Success. Very excited to work with some amazing partners and really getting their programs, brainstorming strategies, and getting them out into the market via FEVO, our amazing platform. With that being said, I would love to turn it over to Cam. Cam, give us a little bit of your background before we have Haley share with us hers.
Yeah, well, hey everybody, and thanks so much for having me as part of this. Quick background on me: I am the senior manager of ticket strategy at the San Francisco Giants, heading into my 14th season with the Giants, and oversee primary focus on kind of single game initiatives, customer acquisition, customer retention in the single game space, but also contribute on across all of our ticket product, how we roll product to market, and sort of branch out into everything tickets. So that's my background.
Thanks, Cam. Haley, share a little bit of your background if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Hi, guys. I'm Haley. I'm a baseball girl. I started my career with the New York Yankees and grew from there. But 11 months ago, I switched over, moved cross country during a pandemic to join the Seattle Mariners. And I'm the director of strategic marketing and sales there. And as the director of strategic marketing and sales, my current role, I'm the bridge between sales, analytics, and marketing. And my job is just to make sure that we're doing everything we can to streamline our vast initiatives to hit our retention and new business goals. In addition to snuffing out ways to reach new audiences like this Costco venture, I'm also responsible for all of our advertising, our communications, and all of our sales related assets.
Fantastic. Thanks, Haley. Awesome. Well, let's jump into some core specifics about the program. For those of you that might be joining and listening in, what's great is you might have had some of these conversations with your success rep or seen some of our case studies and announcements. But really the goal today with our spring partners is to dive into some of the exciting updates as we've continued to work with Costco. But then maybe even answer any outstanding questions that you have had prior to really making the final decision to work with us and the Costco program. So overall, really jumping into the reach of Costco. Not sure how many users are on, or excuse me, how many listeners on the call are a Costco card holder, but a crazy fact, and I think this is just really showing the reach that Costco has. 1 in 3 people are a Costco card holder. So when we really look at some of the statistics and reach of Costco, with their member base being so large and also being the 7th largest retailer, this is a true aspect to look at and why this can be such a great asset to being able to distribute and get your brand in the warehouse. You'll really hear more about that from Cam and Haley later when they talk about their specific success as well as their programs. But want you guys to be aware of how many opportunities you guys can have with getting this in front of new fans or potential current fans in the Costco warehouse itself. The other piece that we are looking forward to launching and will be coming down the pipe as well is our integration with Costco.com. So more details to come with that, but really there are 2 pivotal opportunities and parallel options that you have for launching in Costco. As far as the customer journey, on the next slide, what you're going to see is really as a consumer of Costco, if you're going in store, we want to share with all of you what a fan or patron is going through as that customer journey process. Initially, for anyone that is in warehouse, I want you to imagine a actual 8x11 hard stock that is being built and is the physical tangible item that the patron will pick up and take to the register itself. So in warehouse, the actual buyer receives the warehouse itself walking up to the register upon purchase. They get a voucher that has a unique code on the bottom. That is then in turn what is going to be redeemed. On Costco.com, we're going to eliminate a little bit of that like physical, tangible pickup, and it'll be more of that digital transaction piece. One thing that I'll dive into a little bit later is really how the voucher is created. We do that right in conjunction with you and your marketing team. So if anyone on the call today is from marketing, some great aspects as far as working with you to make that sure that branding falls in line with your standards. Quick and easy last step is number 4 is as soon as they transact right on the FEVO drawer itself, those tickets are being delivered. I don't know if anyone that is joining us today previously worked with Costco in the old kind of taking the voucher actually up to will call, but we're going to make that really easy and think of Costco as a distribution channel that's making you additional revenue while you guys are sleeping, and everything's done digitally in that aspect. Sliding into the next slide as far as program updates. So here I actually want to open it up. Cam, Haley, if you don't mind, while we jump into number 1, really that value piece, do you mind just sharing what your specific program that you're launching in Costco or already launched in Costco is, whether it's added value or discount? Cam, I'll have you go first if you don't mind.
Yeah, we went with the discount model. So focused in on, we were lucky enough to have done some programs with Costco in the past that I'll touch on a little more later, but had some data on what categories sold best. So we focused in on our lower level seats, trying to offer as many games as we could and really focusing on that discount amount. I think we landed in the 35% range in that 25 to 50 range.
Great. Thanks for sharing that, Cam. Haley, what about for you guys?
So we also went with the discount model. We also looked at what type of Costco buyers there were and what offer would work best in the products based on their demand. And we ended up going with $60 or 2 tickets for $60 total in our Terrace Club, which is one of our premium club areas, and it's around a 65% discount.
That's great. I'm actually really glad that you mentioned the premium aspect as well. For our partners listening in today, I think this is where we're having some amazing case studies coming out, is think not just your traditional ticket, like also seeing success with those premium areas and creating really that value for any of the buyers in Costco itself. When we walk through the rules and guidelines for the submission and requirements for Costco, there's really 3 main questions to truly ask yourself when you're looking at this program. 1 being the value. One thing that Costco in partnership with us has truly asked to make sure that this is a value to their consumers is that the savings must be 25 or more on what the normal price of your ticket would be. So again, Haley, you alluded to 65% of that discount side. Knowing that it's a discount, that is really the range that minimum is 25%. Or we're also seeing the added value path as well. So if that's food or beverage, maybe that's merchandise, maybe you're even curating a very unique experience at your stadium or ballpark. Those are all options to think about internally when you're coming up with your program itself. A key piece to this, though, is working in conjunction with marketing. You know, Costco obviously wants to bring value to their consumers, but ideally they want this offer to be the best, if not match what your best marketplace offer is out currently. So just think through that you don't have to reinvent the complete wheel, but if there is an offer that you have in marketplace, make sure it's competitive, if not matching what else is out there. From number 2 is a volume standpoint. Initially, when we launched Costco, we've had some really creative ideas going back to premium, whether it was launching suites, 4-game tickets. The most success that we have had is 2-game ticket packages. And with that being said, we really do see most potential when you offer 90% or more of your season. If there are any major games that you guys want to have as blackout dates, just be mindful. You're more than welcome to list those out in the submission form. But having as many games as possible listed out is definitely going to help with what that revenue and tickets sold are. Also, I'll note on this a little bit later, you guys control the inventory. We do mark and say, it's first come, first serve, best available seating. So if there is different inventory amounts per game, that is something that you on the team side, of course, control and dictate. That last bullet point from a visual standpoint. So we understand you guys have a list of to-dos, right? On the team side, getting ready for the season. If you move forward and as soon as Costco does approve the offer, there is going to be follow-up with either our main point of contact at your team or your marketing department to really collect those in-house marketing assets, such as your logo, branding, again, code colors, to make sure our team will actually build the voucher for you, and that is what will go in store. Great. If I can have you click the next slide as we transition over. So steps to launching the program. We want to keep this as simple and streamlined as possible. Coming out of the call today, if you review some of these details further and schedule a call or follow up with your success team member, there's really 2 initial steps to start the process. Is a 1-page amendment will be sent over for the relationship with, again, Costco and the distribution channel of this program. And then there will be a form that you actually submit what is the curated program that you would like to put in front of Costco for final approval by Costco. The third step is creating that offer, selecting the inventory. What does that look like? Is that lower level inventory? Is that a premium item as well? And then we'll have follow-up next steps on shipping when it goes in warehouse as well. So I'm excited to dive into our 2 panelists. Haley and Cam really want to talk about you guys' specific offers and some of your experience this far. Cam, I'm actually going to have you start first. Is your really aspect and opportunity point of view, you guys at the Giants previously working with Costco, was curious if you can shed light to the rest of us today, what were those internal conversations that you guys had, and how has potentially FEVO helped enhance an already relationship that you had with Costco?
Right. Well, so the Costco partnership, as you mentioned, we've done it for a couple of years. It used to be, if you can imagine, we would literally print out season tickets, an entire season of a specific seat, chop up those physical tickets, and then distribute them across the Costco stores. So the evolution to vouchers has been a lifesaver in that regard. But Costco, all the reasons you mentioned, they have over 50 stores in the Bay Area, so they really cover our local market super well. As you mentioned, 30K, people through the stores per week, I think it was. They have a really dedicated, loyal, returning fan base. Their fan base is a funny word to use, but like their customers almost become fans. When we were prepping for this call, it turned into a Costco love fest with all of us talking about why we love our Costco memberships so much. So it's sort of that engagement with their brand. It's a lot of new customers too. When we looked back at our 2019 program was our first program with them with vouchers, where we kind of have that digital, identified fan in attendance, know everyone who's coming in with our ballpark, and the vast majority were new to our database. So while it's they cover the whole Bay Area. It's an affluent group, as you mentioned, which we tend to find our fan base is more affluent as well. It still wasn't a ton of crossover. It's almost like finding those lookalike customers that you're looking for. And what we also found when we rolled out, we kind of fell into the trap before of having way too many price points, trying to be too segmented with weekday, weekend, trying to get the exact right dollar amount for each seat that you're delivering. And so what we found is kind of focusing in on the one area, which I mentioned was the lower box. I think I forgot the price to mention the price point, but our offer is 2 for $129.99. So it's certainly not any sort of like price point you would use in like a flash sale discount. The price itself is not going to grab people. But we have found that Costco user is willing to pay up for a weekend game for a lower box seat. And so we were able to hit that discount amount. And I think an important thing to mention with the discount too is you can include what your online per game fees are with that. So it's kind of the same. If the user is coming in and buying tickets from you or buying tickets from Costco, that's the apples to apples discount. And by offering a little bit more aggressive discount there, not sticking to that bare minimum 25%, but then including such a wide range of games, if the Costco user comes in and ends up using the ticket for a lower tier game than the higher level games that we price that against, we're actually getting sort of full revenue, or at times even more revenue if they're picking like a midweek Tuesday. And then as to why FEVO, with Costco before, a lot of legwork on our end. We don't have a ton of staff. Our staff wear a million hats, as I'm sure people at all of your organizations do. Really hard to have someone dedicated to go like work through all the legal with them, sign all the documents, get this all done. So being able to just come up with the offer, send it to FEVO, sat down with my design team for a couple hours, hammered out. You guys were really great providing all the specs. Normally when I'm trying to speak design to them and they're like, what are the specs? And I'm like, I literally have no idea what you're talking about. So having like a document with measurements and bleed, which doesn't mean anything to me, and all that, and they were able to just throw it together. I think they did a really great job. I don't know if you're going to show any images of ours, but it's a really cool like orange attention grabbing display, highlighting the NL West championship last year. It's they did a great job and came together really well, and pretty low effort for just a steady revenue stream.
That's amazing. There's a couple things I want to drill into.
Oh, there it is.
Actually, yeah, perfect kind of visual for everyone. And I think you're speaking the same language, Cam, to a lot of people on the call that obviously might come from more of the sales background and helping with that. One piece I want to dive into a little bit more is, you talked about, you guys really looked at this and identifying, okay, what was the price? What was the package? Can you talk a little bit more, like who are some of those individuals that were in the room having that conversation? Like what departments or people were involved in that? And then what were some of the questions you guys were asking yourselves in regards to finding that perfect price amount that you wanted to offer?
Yeah, so I mean, as I mentioned, we had the good fortune of having all this Costco data from previous offers, so didn't have to lean too heavy on you guys or Costco to give us all the Costco demo info. We sort of already had proof of concept. Credit to our business intelligence team. They've built us very robust Tableau dashboards where we can kind of dig into all this stuff and it had all that past Costco information of buy, voucher type, seat location, not only what was the purchase, because we got the purchase information from Costco, but then we also have the redemption information on our side. And it's really important to us with products like this that we see a high utilization rate, because if someone's buying it but then not using it, we don't think that they're a very likely candidate for a renewal the next year. So we want to make sure we're putting something into market that's going to be sustainable year over year. So we kind of had that full suite where for this year's program, didn't even really have to go to them for any projects because we already had that all stood up from our past efforts with them. And so from there, it's working with my group, with our strategic operations team, working with our SVP of ticketing to get sign off on this. Whenever you're only blacking out 13 games, which we did, that's sort of a new thing for us that kind of feels not great up the chain sometimes, to show them like, look, we're literally only blacking out these 7 Dodgers games, opening day and the Cubs Saturday, something like that. It's like, oh, whoa, are we giving away the story here? So getting people comfortable with that, analyzing kind of what our total capacity in those areas are, looking at our season base to make sure we're not putting something out that's going to compromise our ability to sell a full season ticket, that there are still leverage points with other products, and making sure it makes sense across our whole ticket menu. But really found that when we hone in on a specific category that we've shown success in, that we've can show success with providing the game flexibility, that you see those redemptions not only into the best games, but that people aren't great at doing a cost analysis of, they buy the ticket because it seems like a good deal at the time, and then they decide they want to go to that game, and they're not logging onto your website to make sure that the single game price of that game is a good deal relative to what they paid for the Costco voucher. So definitely ends up working out at kind of across the spectrum when you take that leap to provide that flexibility. And so that's how it came together.
Super helpful information. And I think you hit on a lot of key points, especially as you mentioned, like making sure that's a great value in the marketplace, but not undervaluing your season ticket base. I'm sure a lot of us on the call, that's a key thought process that we kind of go through when thinking of offers like this that are getting distributed out. And a key piece to this too is, right, like what are going to be some of those results that come after? So Haley, I know transitioning over to talk a little bit about the Mariners offer, you guys launched an offer with us initially towards the end of last season, saw some huge results in almost 17,000 tickets sold for over $500,000 in revenue and growing. So was curious if you can kind of highlight, okay, what was that first experience? And then really, why did the Mariners and yourself decide to come back for a second opportunity in Costco?
Definitely. So we were really excited to work with Costco because we're both Seattle-based companies. And for a while we were trying to figure out how do we do it? Do we just do it with them? So FEVO coming in and putting this offer and kind of being the mediator between our companies was awesome for us because the distribution is amazing. But the reason we decided to launch twice, or again this year, is last year in the beta, we saw amazing results. We only had it up for the last 16 games of the season and it crushed. It did amazing. The ROI on the project was like $31 and we didn't put any marketing money towards it whatsoever. So it was just based on putting the vouchers in stores and that was it. So it did amazing. The numbers talked for itself. So we knew that we were gonna do it again for this season. And like I mentioned before, we did the exact same offer. We only blocked out 3 dates, I believe, from the entire season. So there's lots of inventory in baseball, lots of games, so everybody can take their pick on stuff. And we doubled the warehouses that we were in because we really wanted to see what we could do with this offer. And like I said, the numbers speak for themselves. It's crushing. But in addition to the overall success, revenue-based and ticket-based, our organization is really focused on 2 things for the next few years. 1 is bringing baseball to the masses, and 2 is evolving the customer experience. And this offer has helped us do both of those things. 1, to bring baseball to the masses, you need your core fans, right? Like we have them, we know who they are, but you also have to develop messaging and offers that appeal to new audiences to bring in those new people. And that's exactly what this offer does for us. For us so far, and also Cam mentioned this, the Costco audience is predominantly new buyers, which is amazing. It's a totally new audience for us. And like every organization, we're working to get new people into the funnel, upsell them, hook them, get them obsessed with baseball. And this offer helps us with arguably one of the harder parts in sales, getting people to the ballpark. From there, our salespeople will take it away. But that's huge for us. So that was number 1. And then 2, when you talk about evolving the customer experience, Cam also, I was laughing when he said this, but the voucher game has freaking evolved over the last few years. And having FEVO digitize it for us, it's the best. So it takes away the paper tickets. Like a lot of sports are moving away from the paper ticket and focusing on mobile and digital, and that's what this does. It gets rid of the physical voucher and you can just redeem your code online, and it's the best. So that's those are the few reasons why we decided to relaunch.
That's great. And the last piece, right, both you and Cam hit on it, is this digital aspect. I think all of us can attest, everyone listening today, with COVID, a lot of our behaviors from ordering groceries online, or I think of like my grandma having to order, from Instacart, right, is these transactions are happening mobily. And I think that's even what we're seeing with Costco buyers is as soon as they're leaving the warehouse, again, we're seeing those transactions take place and the mobile element, those tickets being delivered digitally. So it's great to hear that you guys both, again, saw that. And that's where we're really seeing those numbers increase. Haley, from your perspective, for anyone joining and listening in, whether it's from marketing or a business intelligence position, or even on the sales side, what advice would you give to some of our listeners as far as really like why they should potentially be doing this program, or at least start looking at where it would value their team?
Definitely. So one, I would definitely advise you to look at your market, figure out who the Costco buyers are, work with your Costco reps, your FEVO reps to figure out what they want, what their Personix motivations are, because like both Kim and I mentioned, it's not just about offering main level tickets. It's not just about offering view level tickets, which typically FEVO has done in the past, right? It was considered the group ticketing platform, but what these people want are more premium, better, higher quality products at a discount. That's what Costco is about. And baseball and sports have premium areas. They have that higher echelon ticket that these people want. So as you're thinking about what offers you want to craft and put together, I would say think outside of the box and don't just stick to the cheaper tickets, the things that we know that we need help with inventory wise, but to get in those new, more affluent buyers, like get them hooked and then show them the rest of the stadium. So I would say one, look at your market, and then two, don't stay in the safe space when it comes to what you want to offer them.
That's great. Good point, Haley. And both for you and Cam, right? Like it's a, again, higher tier premium item, and there is success being shown there. So for our teams, I think really evaluating your stadium is critical, but don't look over those premium spots, which are very attractive in Costco specifically. With that being said, looking at our season partners and really the seasonality of your league, we are really excited to be, again, putting this in front of Costco. And from a timeline perspective, we do actually have a kind of season submission process that we're starting to roll out to our partners. So this, again, might look like a little bit of a newer view for some of you joining in. But the key and critical aspect is getting ahead of this. I think Cam and Haley, I know I can speak from the FEVO side as well as your success reps, but working with you guys, getting ahead of it so that it's ready to go in store and you're not missing out on any of those early games that you guys are looking for in the start of the season. So we are really looking for March 1st as the date to submit by. And I know that's coming up quick, but that is also where hopefully answering some of your questions and really working with your success rep on what that offer looks like. We are here at FEVO to truly help make this process easy. Another thing I really bring some light to is we're seeing this as a 6-figure deal approaching 7 figures of a distribution channel that you guys have a direct line to. So the opportunity is there. If you do have, any questions in regards to even current sponsorships with any other supermarket, again, distribution channels that you guys have, we have definitely explored that and worked with teams that have similar partnerships with maybe other retailers or supermarkets. So please connect with us after the call. We're happy to dive in what those steps look like, especially since Costco's truly given us the blueprint to what this really distribution channel can look like. Coming out of today's call, I do want to be mindful. Our goal is to keep it to 30 minutes. We wanted to really have this bite size and make sure to get the updates to you. Coming out of today's call, if there were any questions that were submitted in the chat, we will actually be sending a follow-up email to everyone that joined. This webinar is being recorded, so we'll send the recording as well as any questions that we didn't get answered today. If you have interest coming out of the call, and Cam, Haley, I cannot thank you guys enough. We're super excited for the opportunities. And I know as the Giants go in store, it's been awesome to see results. Haley, we're so happy and excited to see the second wave and what more we can learn from, again, the program going off. We are happy to answer questions, and please connect with your success rep as we want to start those conversations and make sure that all of our other spring partners can take advantage of this deal for their start of their season. Haley, Cam, thanks again so much for everyone joining us today. Thank you for the time, especially keep up the good work. I know it's a busy time, but thank you guys, and we're here to help. Appreciate
For having
it.
us.